All right, good afternoon, everyone. So, today we're going to be looking at two types of mapping. It's one to one and one to many. So, for our objectives for today, we're going to be able to list at least two types of mapping correctly, accurately distinguish among the different types of mapping, and state at least one example of each type of mapping. So, let's go. Hold on. All right, so what is a one-to-one relation? Well, a one-to-one relation is a relation A maps to B is said to be one-to-one relation if no two elements of A have the same image in B. I read that incorrectly, but basically this is just a fancy way of saying that each element in the domain circle right here maps onto only one element in the range circle, which is right here. So you realize that one arrow in the element goes to one element in the range. There is no element here. Say for example, you have one going to 5 and one going to 6. Each element in the domain is going to only one number in the range. So let's think about how this applies to real life. Say, for example, you have one employee that works for only one company, or one dog that belongs to only one person. Or, say, for example, you have a type of crayon that is made by only one brand. So, say, for example, you have Mark and his dog Rex. Rex belongs only to Mark. He does not have any other owners besides Mark. Alright, let's talk about one to many relations. A relation A maps to B is said to be one to many relation if an element of A is related to two or more elements of B. So see we have elements in the domain right here. We have one pointing to 2, but one is also pointing to 3. So we can see that one element goes to many numbers in the range, right? All right, 3 is a one-to-one mapping. How about 5? 5 points to 5 in the range circle, and 5 points to 6. So we realize that one element here is pointing to many numbers in the range. All right, so how can we relate that to what we see around us? Say, for example, you have one book that has many pages, and you can have one school with many students, right? All right, so let's look at some more examples. All right, so we have two mapping diagrams here. We have a one-to-one and one-to-many. So you can see that 1 only maps onto 1, 4 only maps onto 2, 9 only maps onto 3, 16 maps only to 4. And here we have one element going to more than one element in the range. One element in the domain is going to more than one element or many elements in the range. So we have P is pointing or maps onto L. P also maps onto N. R maps onto L. It also maps onto T. And well, this one is one to one. All right, let's look at this example. It says if A has the elements 3, 2, 1, and 0, and B has the elements 1, -1, -3, and -5. First, it asks us to draw a mapping diagram to show the relation x mapped onto 2x minus 5. So let's go ahead and draw our mapping diagram. All right, that's our domain circle. And here we have our range circle. Let's go ahead and fill out our domain circle. So we have 3, 2, 1, 1, and 0. All right, so that is our domain. Bring it up a bit. All right. So in our range, we have 1, -1, and -3, and -5. All right, you'll notice that if you put in each of these values in the domain, let's say you have let's go ahead and use 3 for example. So let's plug in let's plug in 3 for x and see what we get. So 2 times 3 minus 5, that's going to be 2 times 3 is 6, 6 minus 5 is 1. So we know that 3 definitely maps onto 1. And if you do it for the rest of the numbers in the domain, if you do it for 2, 1, 0, you should get the same thing. You should have 3 mapping onto 1, 2 mapping onto minus 1, 1 mapping onto minus 3, 0 mapping onto minus 5. Right. All right, so let's go ahead and finish this up. So drawing our arrows, 2 maps onto minus 1, and 1 maps onto minus 3. We have 0 mapping onto minus 5. All right. So this is our range circle. Let's not forget to label them. You can put Y, or you can write range. For domain, you can write X, or you can write the word domain. All right. So the next part asks us to describe the type of mapping obtained from the diagram above, or what it represents. I think this is a typo. All right, so we can see that only each of the elements in the domain only maps onto one number in the range. We don't have 3 going to 1 and it also goes to minus 1. It only points to one number for each of the elements in the domain. So we can definitely say that this is a 1 to 1 relation. And that's it. So basically all you have to do is look at the arrows, see if one of the elements in the domain points to more than one element in the range. And that's it. So your assignment is to create a mapping diagram with a one-to-one relation and a mapping diagram with a one-to-many relation.